Who are you?
I'm Detective Mike Jardine.
Oh, yeah? What are you working on? What are you working on right now?
Several cases.
Okay.
What is this about?
Are you working on something right now?
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
All right, what are you working on? What are you working on?
It doesn't matter what I'm working on. I'm asking you, what are you doing here taking pictures?
Where have you been today? Have you been here all day? Or have you been out and about a little bit?
What is this about? Who are you?
I'm asking the questions. Where have you been today?
No,
Have you been here?
I'm asking the questions. You're on this property. You're on this property, so you need to answer my questions.
Are you drunk? Why are you slurring your words today? So have you been here all day, or have you been out? Have you been to the bar today at all?
Who are you?
Have you been to the bar today?
Who are you?
I'm an investigator.
Investigator for who?
Investigative journalist. I investigate corrupt officials. So I'm wondering, where have you been today? Have you been here all day, or have you been out at the bar at all?
Working on a fraud case. That's
Okay.
where I've been.
Okay. Have you been to the bar at all today?
No.
Okay. You got any drugs on you? Have you used any drugs today?
What a ridiculous question.
That's not a ridiculous question. Do you know where he's been today?
I don't keep tabs on him.
Okay.
Out and about.
Do you know what time his shift started?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Does he usually drink on the job, or no? Not that anybody knows of for sure. Have you guys ever breathalyzed him while he's been on the job? Would you submit to a breathalyzer for me right now?
You're ridiculous. You know that?
Hey.
You've got about 5 minutes to get out of here right now.
Or what?
Or what? You're on
My
law
property.
enforcement. This isn't your
Yeah, it
property.
is. Shut the hell up. Get out of here now.
What'd you say?
I said shut up and get out
No,
of here.
you get out of here now.
Hey, you better get your boy. Get your butt back in your office
You
and do
shut
your
up.
job.
You shut up and get
You
out
get
of
your
here.
butt back in your office and do your job.
No. No.
You quit drinking on the job. You understand me?
Whatever.
You punk ass. You get your ass back in there. You don't look back here again. I'll be watching you. You are now under investigation.
To be clear, it has not been proven that Detective Mike Jardine is or was drinking on the job.
The sun hasn't come up yet.
Why?
Because the sun comes up later.
Why?
Well, the Earth goes around, and when it turns a certain amount, the sun shows on the horizon.
Why?
The important thing is to question everything. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter when you are, where you are, who you are when you're watching this. Craig and I hope you're doing well. And he wants to remind you it is indeed Taco Tuesday. So that's discrimination. We like hot dog Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. All right, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into some interesting things this morning. I'll let Craig say a little hello to whomever he wants in the chat.
Good morning, everyone. Make sure
His channel.
it is Craig, Fact the Madness, and I think I want to start off by telling everyone thank you for attending and viewing the ceremonies which we had while I was gone. That's mostly why I've been gone for the period of time. I've heard that many people thought that it was a beautiful ceremony. I felt it was beautiful. My heart was in it, and I'm now forever attached to the person who I love. And so I'm glad you all were able to share it. Thank you for it so much.
Indeed, and congratulations are in order officially. Back
Thank
on the channel again after his hiatus.
It was a hiatus, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And then
Well,
while we
yep.
were gone, the water pipe burst. So we got a call. I think actually it was on the actual day that Liza got a call telling us that they had to shut the water off because it was doing its thing. And we had already dug a trench out to the other building. And I was like, I'll be damned if I have to do that again. So we found it. Somebody did it for us for a fair price. And so it's all taken care of now. But we have water pressure back in the house, and I can start getting things ready. So
yeah, a lot of people are thanking you for allowing them in there. And we got old guy Mitch in your channel. That's good. It's good. Awesome. I was
What's
first,
up?
by the way. I'm just letting you know I was the first one to support your channel. I was first. Y'all got to be quicker than that.
We got to be quicker. And before I was even in there, I forgot to pull it up. I try not to put up too many tabs because I'm still getting used to, StreamYard. And I did upgrade, so I only have a little bit of time. I'm trying to put out a couple of different things, so it might seem a little experimental on some level. But you guys will kind of. I'm going to do what I like to do, but I think people will be able to kind of give me some direction as to a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, and then we'll kind of like make it into a nice little package. So
yeah, and in the immortal words of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. Shake and bake.
Oh, you almost had it. You got to be quicker than that.
Yeah, you're not a super fan. I'm a super fan of Craig. All right. So that said, you want to explain what you think your topic's going to, how it ties in. We'll talk about what your topic thought is that you brought to the table, if you'd like.
Sure. Well, so, and I honestly, I am a fan of yours, obviously, and we collaborate on so many levels. And so when I see you on panels and the like, then I'm there sometimes, and I probably would not be privy to those panels unless you were there or not. So, but I've heard the term blood sport. And I remember a movie. I don't remember exactly what it was about. If I vaguely remember what it was like, but it seemed kind of hostile. And I think that on some level, I would probably imagine that what you all are doing on these panels sometimes seems hostile. And I even wonder whether or not, like, even if I have something that I might want to say, is this danger, Will Robinson, and stay away? Or is it just, kind of watch and figure out, am I ready for that type of a venue, so to speak? So, I mean, I think what you brought up before we got on the show is like, is it a place to cut your chops? Kind of get, your mental exercises in. And it's just one of those things that I was thinking, what's the format like? What it's all about? Are you for it? Are you against it? Is it something you'll continue to do? Am I ever going to be a part of it? Those kind of things. So that's where my mind went with it.
Strengthening one's mental and argumentative acumen would be a good word. ACUMEN. Look it up. Write it out 10 times, as I had my daughter do. So let me turn this off here. So the curse of debate bro culture. So we're going to explore a little bit about this, and here I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this on the screen because I didn't know about this topic until about a half hour before we came up. Let me put us in here though. Okay. So we got the curse of a critique of debate as a blood sport. Okay, so let me make this bigger for the ladies. They like it when we do that. All right, so we got, have you ever listened to an argument? Perhaps it was generously titled a debate by the participants, wherein each and every maneuver attempted by either of the participants amounted to little more than an attempt to assert one's ego, showing off one's supposed knowledge and dominate the other in a flashy display of rhetorical proficiency. These are the debates to which we can barely listen for more than 10 seconds without rolling our eyes and beginning to tune the combatants out, because this is precisely what they are: fighters in the ring, trying trying to barbarically destroy the other person for personal glory and the vindication of a childish sort of rivalry founded on the belief in the superiority of oneself. It is in many ways rather pathetic to witness. All right, you get the next part. Can you read that okay?
Yep. Stop right there. As someone who runs a large debating community on the famous or infamous social media platform Discord, I know all too well how easily otherwise fruitful discussions can descend into pedantic, childish nonsense that serves no purpose other than to embiggen the actors in the eyes of the audience and themselves. If the infantile posturing that these people engage in achieves even that much, often this is seen as a necessary evil, a trade-off which server owners feel obliged to make because drama is what generates activity, and activity is essential in maintaining the longevity of any Discord server. If your server is inactive, people won't stay. Luckily, my own server manages to maintain an impressive level of activity despite having a very healthy culture when it comes to debates, discussions, and the people who like to be involved in them. Nameless Debates manages to distance itself from all other debate servers on Discord, the vast majority of which ultimately prioritizes activity and controversy over healthy and...
All right, 1 second. So for those that are wondering, what does pedantic mean? It's an adjective that describes someone who is overly concerned with formal rules or small details, especially in learning or teaching. So it's like some might call me pedantic because good morning, old guy Mitch. Good to see you. Some might call me pedantic because I like to get the definition of words as I just demonstrated there. I believe firmly that if I'm going to have a good faith conversation with someone, and if we can't at least agree on what the definition of words are, then how do we have any kind of platform to start from? What's our starting block if we fundamentally agree on what the definition of is, for example, to quote Clinton from back in the day. So we'll go back to here. So it should be right. There's the people who like God.
And the people who like to be involved in them. Nameless Debates manages to distance itself from all other debate servers on Discord, the vast majority of which ultimately prioritize, I read this before, activity and controversy over healthy and productive dialogue. This neglect of the norms of productive discourse, this utter disregard for the ethic of the dialogue, is what I am referring to under the title debate bro culture, although it is equally well described as the blood sports conception of debate.
Now, just FYI, this is one person's kind of thoughts on this, and I don't really find myself disagreeing a whole lot with what I consider what I'm seeing some of the blood sport that I was kind of like I dipped my toe into waters that apparently had piranha in it. Craig, do you remember our conversation before this show concept really took off, and that, we had a bit of a text back and forth, and I didn't want it to be so much of a debate, even, especially not a blood sport, even though we might not agree on some things, many things, anything, who knows? We're still trying to suss it out.
We still haven't quite figured out if that is the case or not, right? I think
Right.
you say that often.
Yeah. So, but I think I reached out to you and said, I want this to be a cooperative, a conversation. I want us to both kind of win at the end of it, if possible, to glean a better understanding of ourselves and the world around us and how we operate therein. Right.
Mhm.
That was kind of my focus and my goal. And, to those that have been in my channel and have gone, hey, this isn't you. What happened to your channel? What's going on? All this other stuff. And, I'm figuring it out along with you guys. Craig's not sure if he wants to go anywhere near the lake shore. He's trying to, according to his own words that he said about 5 minutes ago, I believe. So we're feeling it out. It's kind of like I stick my dick in the horse so that you don't have to get the STD. So I'm doing you guys a service. Apologize if it causes anyone mental strife or any kind of contention in their minds. We are all big boys and girls. Sometimes my content will be for you. Sometimes it won't be for you. Sometimes it's for me. Sometimes it's not for me. And
Well,
I have to rage quit. So
it's kind of interesting that you use that analogy or metaphor, I guess is what you call it. But some people still may want to partake, right? But they can be forewarned. Hey, GS has already done it. You might want to strap up on this one. You know what I mean? So you're not just going there blindly thinking that you're with some wholesome chick or wholesome man, whatever it may be, but that you need to protect yourself on some level. And I to be honest with you, I mean, I it's enjoying it. I find enjoyment in listening to the moments that occur where there is dialogue and, you know, ideas are going across. And that's really what it comes down to for me, is that when you're talking about ideas, then you can expound upon that and learn a whole lot. But then you get to this point where people start nitpicking at each other over different stuff, and that just doesn't seem productive at times. It's blood sportish, you know, you're tearing a person down. In fact, if you've ever been to any debate before, even the ones that are politicized and publicized on television, there's always somebody trying to keep that from occurring, right? They're trying to keep it moving along an intellectual conversation. Otherwise, it just becomes chaos.
yeah, so I mean, and that's the interesting aspect in it. This has happened quite a few times in some of even the First Amendment panels that I've been in early on, when no one really knew about me. You know, I think I got into auditing Erie County's panel kind of in the beginning, and you know, I was pretty much kind of a fanboy at the time. I wasn't an auditor. I still don't necessarily call myself an auditor. I'm just somebody that tries to amplify auditors and interview interesting people. That said, I noticed that my line of inquiries were elevating the discourse in the room. Now, you can say that I'm patting myself on the back, or that I think that I'm something, you know, I'm the cat's meow or the kitty that got the cream or whatever. You can say whatever you want. I was pretty quickly in another, I went to the People's Guys chat, and it was almost always like absolute blood sport nonsense, and people were just fighting and talking over each other. And I remember asking some very interesting questions, and we actually had a very good conversation for about a good 2 hours. And all of a sudden it just devolved. And next thing I know, everyone's calling me some kind of a pastor or some kind of a cult leader, or, you know, just being casting dispersions on me because I love God. And although I love Jesus and he is my savior, I don't know that I claim Jesus. I don't know that Jesus would necessarily claim me based on most of my behaviors. And that's something I continue to work on. I've been very clear. I've told people, do not follow me, as I don't think that Jesus would want you to follow me, as I don't think I'm following Jesus the way that Paul said, follow me as I follow Jesus. I'm working on it though, folks. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse for me to continue to do poorly. But it is an exercise in me attempting to always be better. So that's my caveat. So Bloodsport, we're going to continue to, I'll read this next part here, unless you have any thoughts on that, Craig.
No, I mean, I think you summed it up decently, and you know,
so
I don't have any course
the point. Yeah, the point of me wanting to participate in some of these debates is there is an opportunity not only to ask salient questions like Craig was talking about. It's those in between moments of clarity and conversation and genuine curiosity and inquiry that one can glean some kind of information from it and some usefulness. And, you know, when you're the adult in the room, at times you can really show how sophomoric the rest of the room can be or could be, but sometimes you become the sophomore in the room, depending on if you let your emotions get involved. And that's something I'm working on. That's something that's strengthening me. So just a little FYI on that. Go ahead, Greg.
Let me ask you, so if there are any moments that you feel like that you could be or are triggered. When I say triggered, I just mean that might set you off on something. what is it usually that does it? What type of things
Mm.
can or would set you off if you're aware of what it is?
Yeah, I'm 100% aware. It's people that don't argue in good faith, people that aren't arguing from an intellectually honest point of view, people that are stuck on the willful ignorance stem. Some people are stupid, as I've said before, and if you're stupid, then I try to, once I realize I'm dealing with a stupid person, I try not to engage anymore, because I can't fix stupid. No one can fix stupid. It's just the way you're born. It's not. I'm not saying it as a derogatory insult. It's just a statement of fact. And then you have ignorant people. I myself have been ignorant a great many things in my lifetime, but thankfully there were mentors or people that might take the time to explain something to me, and that helps to allay my ignorance, and therefore I'm cured of that. Ignorance need not be a death sentence to your intelligence, right? It need not be a terminal illness. But willful ignorance, I can't abide it. I look at willful ignorance and I just want to, I want to curb stomp in American History X style. I absolutely want to curb stomp willful ignorance, and not the person, but the act of being willfully ignorant. I want to stomp it into oblivion. It's something that makes me sick to my stomach, to my core. And I think it's a big part of what's maligning our intellectual discourse in America and abroad.
Well, so I'm fascinated with the answer one, and then in my mind, I think of a couple of different things. And when you're debating something, and in this case, we are talking about a debate, albeit blood sportish, but by proxy, you understand that there's someone that you're talking to who is on the opposite side of the argument, right? So if you don't, I feel like if you don't recognize that they're on the opposite end of the spectrum with regards to your opinion or your position, then you are always going to think that they're ignorant, right? There's
not necessarily.
Okay, so I mean,
I think that's a non sequitur.
Okay,
I think that premise is saying that I can't disagree with anyone.
No, because I mean, well, if it came across that, I did not mean that, because I'm assuming that, I mean, that you disagree, that you might disagree with someone, but where then? I mean, are you expecting that during the conversation that they will come to the dark side, so to speak, to your side of the equation, or is it still possible that at the end of the day you might still be in disagreement?
Well, there's a possibility based on who presents the more fruitful argument or puts forth the most fruitful in good faith conversation. I remain always changeable. My opinions, I reserve the right to change my personal opinions based on new data coming available to my mind. So I don't hold Donner Kruger effect, basically, is where you think you're more competent than what you really are, or no one can, can't tell you shit. Pardon my French, but you can't tell some of these people anything. They know it all. We used to tell our kids, well, quit school and get a job while you know everything. You mean, it's like, you know it all right now. So why don't you just quit school and get a job? Make us all rich.
Well, I mean, I find that it seems as though these panels, and I haven't watched a whole bunch of them, but it's basically a bunch of individuals who simply believe that they are right, period. I mean, and again, keep in mind, I haven't watched a whole lot of them, but I'm just saying, like, it lends itself to saying that this person, that person in these fields, they say something and they're just convinced that they're correct. And I don't know if
if someone was engaging in a conversation with me and they didn't think what they were saying was correct, that would be not arguing in good faith. Good faith doesn't mean that you're right. Good faith means that you're arguing from your heart. You mean what it is that you're saying. You might not know the whole truth of the fact of the matter, but you're having a discourse to try to ascertain or discern where you should be or where you are, and whether where you are is where you should be, or you should be somewhere else. Meaning, I've said this often, like the Socratic method, often in asking the question, one can often find the answer is speaking it out loud. People say, well, I don't hear, how do you hear God's voice? Read the Bible out loud. That's my advice to you. You're
not there believing or, just believing that you can't be swayed. You're saying that it's possible that you could be swayed.
I mean, why else would I have a conversation
about it? I mean, you're exploring to try to get to the bottom of it, or the truth, right? I mean,
Precisely.
that seems fair to me. Otherwise, if you're not doing that, then nobody's going to benefit, right?
Yeah, if you're not walking into the discussion with the ability to have your mind, or being willing to have your mind changed when more data comes out that says you should change your mind, then what are you doing there? That means you're not there to argue in good faith. Now, there are people, like I said, I keep saying there are people out there that just, they want to strike a match and watch the world burn because they like the way that the flames dance in their irises. You know, I mean, they just like it. It keeps them warm at night. I'm not interested in that. I'm a solutions guy. You got a problem, I got a solution. And if you keep rejecting the solution and just keep bringing up the problem, I've identified that you are the problem, and my solution is that you no longer exist on my purview. You know, that's eventually you burn the bridge. I don't burn it. You've deselected yourself out of my gene pool of thought. So, so that's kind of how I see it. So we're going to go back to reading this if you like. I believe it's my. Go ahead. I talked a lot. You want to keep reading?
Well,
unless you had pushback on that, go ahead.
No, I don't have any pushback. Where are we? So this starting at the top.
Yes.
Okay. The most obvious example of debate. Sorry, maybe you might want to. My dogs are. Somebody's at the door.
Yep.
I
can read it if you want. So the most obvious examples of debate bro culture can be found in a special kind of Discord debating community, anime/fiction debating, perhaps partly because the average age of those who tend to engage in debates about such topics, and partly because of the degree to which such discussions are detached from pragmatic considerations about reality. Well, so I mean, it's. I guess you can argue fantasy all day long if there's nothing to mire it in. Yeah, I could see that how it could descend to just nonstop prattling about nonsense. A lot of counterproductive behaviors. Just raise your hand when you're ready if you want to. A lot of counterproductive behaviors tend to manifest itself within these interactions, which typically result in a lower quality of discussion, which I'm not interested in. In a big way, these kinds of communities tend to endorse clout chasing strong arm tactics more than they support. That's interesting. I was accused of being a clout chaser. Tactics more than they support the authentic engagement with others, which goes by the name of dialectic. So, like, for instance, the Hegelian dialectic would be problem, reaction, solution. Oftentimes, the government creates a problem. They already have a solution in mind that they plan to roll out. They're just waiting on the people to provide a reaction. I don't know if you've heard that term before.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So let's see. Dialectic. These are people who are willing to engage openly in any number of fallacious, meaning untrue, arguments if it means coming across to the audience as more rhetorically dominant. So it's about ego. It's about trying to rub your dick, drag your dick across someone else's forehead. And consequently, they are the same people who will behave in an incredibly dishonest manner if that means maintaining the facade that a meaningful objection has not been made to their position. I experienced that with Based Oracle. Answer the question. Well, dude, I answered the question 6 times, dude. You didn't want that answer. So, and it's about trying to get you off your center. So it's important that, and he was testing me, and by the way, Based and I did have he and I were the only ones in that chat in the backstage, and we talked for probably about 15 minutes.
Just last night?
Yeah, last night. And,
okay.
And so basically, and I explained to him that I had talked to Sarah in the backstage when she said she was going to be having that panel last night. And I told Sarah, and I don't know if she remembers because she was pretty deep. She was a sipping stream, so she was deep into her wine cups. And and I told Sarah, I said, I have no intentions of, piling on, because it was presented to me. That whole thing, I don't know if the whole thing was just to try to drum up attention, like a fake beef. So it was presented to me that she wasn't going to call Based out directly, but she was going to call out certain behaviors. And I basically told her, I said, I hope you don't think I'm a pussy, but I have no intentions of trying to step on him while he's down or anything like that. I said, I have no interest in going after Based in an attacking way. I said, I don't know if I'll defend myself or, effectively if he comes after me, or if I'll just let it go and keep quiet. So I said basically that, my plan was not to go after him. And I'm kind of glad I didn't want to go in there thinking I was going to attack Based, because there was no beef between Sarah and Base the whole time. It was just like a way to kind of get clickbait, I guess. So I didn't fall into the trap. I actually acted a little bit more like a Christian than I might normally have. And I'm glad that I did, because it, in my opinion, yeah, exactly. I could have looked like a real jackass. You know, I could have looked at someone trying to kick someone while they're down, which I've been accused of before. So let me finish this off. So that's a little aside, and Based and I had an interesting conversation afterwards, and I think that we're good. I believe that we're good. I'm a little guarded, as my chat is. My chat is very protective of me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate them looking out for me like that. So let me finish this, and you can take over from here, unless you have some comments on this. So where were we? Often they cannot answer this objection, hence their impression displayed of mental gymnastics to avoid biting the bullet and admitting that they might have been wrong or might have misspoken or what have you. So basically they act like the question wasn't sufficiently answered in order to kind of dissuade the audience from saying, like, say if you and I were having a blood sport and you were like trying to bait me and say, come on, man, that's not even an answer. That's ridiculous. That's, you know, and the crowd's like,
Answer the
Craig's
question.
right.
Answer the question.
Yeah,
Answer the
exactly.
question. Answer the question.
So you're trying to win the crowd. So there usually there's a moderator, and then there's the moderated debate part of it. And then there's the blood sport, which is kind of like the audience doing the whole gladiator, you know, that kind of like, all right, what about Craig? What about GS? Right. So it's an interesting aspect of it. Okay. Anything goes.
Fiction debating is an excellent case study for the kinds of techniques and behaviors which flourish in an environment where no holds are barred, where anything goes, and whoever can bamboozle the audience with the most finesse basically takes the crown. By examining fiction debating at length, we hope to identify the issues in their most unambiguous form and to clarify them in relation to that obvious example, so that we can get some idea of what is happening in much more sophisticated ways elsewhere in life. In these debates, which have little to no anchoring in reality, what matters is not the truth of the matter, but rather who can portray themselves as the most capable and in control during the discussion. And this is licensed in part by the fact that the topic of the conversation is already fictional. Consequently, to some degree, there is no sin in distorting and contorting the canonical evidence, in order to
canonical, you know what the canonical means, right?
No, canons.
You're exactly right. So it's canon, like canon for Star Wars would be, okay, what is the canon for Star Wars? And then all this other fictional aspects of people trying to add to it, extra canonical, like outside of the canon. But go ahead.
In order to support your view, because ultimately the outcome of the debate only matters insofar as it serves to buttress your.
Oh.
You gotta go up. Yep.
All right, 1 second. Right. Nope. Hold on. There we go.
Buttress your reputation within such a community. What harm is done if your ridiculous interpretation of fiction is entertained? There is no sin, in fact, because there is no real truth with which to contend, only a canonical set of facts and the interpretation which we apply to them in order to yield our views. Yet these interpretations vary widely based on the personalities of the people performing the analysis. And this is how we wind up with such vitriolic disputes about which character is the strongest in a fictional story.
So it's just a bunch of nerds spurging out about who their favorite superhero is. And if you call an anime character by the wrong pronoun or whatever, they get all pissed off about it. So it's whatever. So it's just nerds that need swirlies and get shoved into lockers. I mean, listen, I'm a nerd too, though, but I'm also, I did football all the way through, 8 years old, all the way through high school, joined the military. I can give a swirly, and I can definitely collect some baseball cards, something like that, So I got a foot in both. So it's kind of like, so an easy way to imagine the general content of these conversation is whose dad would beat up whose. There it is. It's my dad will throw your dad over the fence. Yeah, my dad built that fence 10 feet higher, so now your dad can't throw him over there. All right. Except that the dads in question are their favorite anime characters of whom they are participating in the debates, individuals who engage with it within such communities tend to be positively ruthless in their efforts to dispatch their opponents and have particularly no regard for substance, preferring superficial dominance in their interlocutor. I've never even heard. Do you know what that is?
Interlocutor.
What is that? The hell does that mean? It's your turn to look up a word for us.
Yeah, I'm looking.
All right. So to genuine and productive discourse, how it ties in.
The definition of interlocutor is a person who takes part in a dialogue or conversation.
Oh, okay. And they're interlocutor to genuine and productive discourse any day of the week. Go ahead. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
No, I was just thinking, like orator. I was just thinking of what.
Interesting. The root words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? To genuine and productive discourse any day of the week. This is because the core motive and drive of the people who engage in these debates is to make themselves known, to garner reputation, and thereby to inflate and validate their ego. It's like squirt boy debate bro stuff. I'm not interested. Debate. It says debate is, in other words, a kind of glorified popularity contest to such people. Not only do they typically argue about why their favorite characters are the best, but they also frequently engage in related disputes about why everyone should agree with them and that they're the best debater alive. That is true. I am the best debater alive. Some would say I might be a master debater. They debate, that is, how good they are at debating. All right, so here you go. This is on you, unless you have something you want to add to that last paragraph.
This self-image of theirs, through which they imagine themselves to be far better than they are, causes them to feel an inane desire to assert themselves and prove that they really are as great as they imagine with what they call feats. From individual feats, achievements, or displays of power, proficiency, skill. Such a debater, a beating debater, B, a fiction debater can engage in what is called scaling, where they infer that because A beat B and B beat C, A is better than C. This results in an ever-shifting tier list that ranks debaters above or below one another, a practice which originated in the fiction debating itself. Participants would frequently be invited to construct an image showing how they thought each other character in a particular universe stacked up against one another, and therefore which were the strongest, which were on a par with which, and which were the weakest.
Mm-hmm. Are you finding this interesting or fascinating at all?
Yeah. No, it is interesting because, like I said,
this makes me want to engage in Bloodsport even less now because it's geeky anime nerd porn kind of like, yeah, my Squirtle is better than your blah blah blah. Shut up, nerd. All right. Anyway,
but dude, I think kind of what I see, or what maybe the thing that comes to mind is more. Well, I don't want to. So I don't want to diminish the forum, because is her name Rachel or Sarah? The lady who hosted that. Who is it? What's her name?
Sarah's the one. Sarah's the blonde. She hosted it. Rachel seemed like she was. Hosting it.
I thought she's red, like a kind of a ginger.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
no. I just want to make sure. Strawberry blonde. Okay, so
she was the only female, the only actual genetic XY on the panel.
Yeah. So and to her point, which she makes, she says, I just provide the form, and then you guys put out the content. So I think that she does what she does well. So I'm not diminishing the fact that she's offering it for people to be there, but a lot of times I hear a good question, and then in between just a bunch of catty bullshit sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So, and then you get to another good point, and then it digresses to that. So that's all really I'm saying, that kind of makes me think, well, what is the purpose of it all? And I sometimes find myself trying to figure out where that sweet spot is in those debates, the type of debate. So,
well, the Bible does say to cast not your pearls among swine.
Yeah.
So once you realize you're dealing with swine, that's, how do you be wise as a serpent and as gentle or harmless as a dove, right?
And
How do you-
maybe in any other forum, I mean, in any other type of forum as it's presented, maybe all of you would perform differently, right? But in that particular type of forum, somehow it just gets to a point where it's not as productive as it could be more often than not. And that's my opinion. I'm just saying that's my perception of it when I'm watching it. And I don't know, some of you all in the chat might
Yeah,
have
and
some
that's
input on it.
why I became frustrated, because I thought we were having good faith conversations about intellectual things and trying to understand things that we didn't. And that's kind of why things kind of went off the rails about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
I mean, because
Where-
you and I, we don't find ourselves there very often. I mean, if at
Mm.
all, right?
I don't think we've
So,
ever found
I mean,
ourselves there.
no, and if we included 5 other people, I would venture to say that we wouldn't allow it. Our audience might
wouldn't.
not allow it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I wouldn't.
it just
I
is
wouldn't.
not conducive to anything.
So and that's the rub too. Like Tim, he doesn't want to have anything to do with any kind of panels like that. I just think, look, man, I care about my chat a lot. I do, but we have to be able to put our big boy pants on and deal. Like Candace Owen, life's hard. Get a helmet. I'm too pregnant for this bullshit. Next question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what do you want? I mean, I love you, Tim, but if you know going into it, based on what we're reading here, that it is sophomoric, but here's an opportunity for it to get elevated. If we get more people like myself and Craig involved in there, not only does it have the potentiality of elevating the conversation that it is useful, it's also going to shame these kids into realizing they sound like a bunch of sophomoric retards.
I mean,
and I mean that with love.
Of course. And at the end of the day, when it comes to me, whatever brand I will have one day, all of those things, something may affect me in a certain way, but my reaction doesn't have to be at the highest level of the extreme or the lowest level of extreme, right? Still somewhere where there's discretion, some discipline, poise, those kind of things matter to me when I am discussing any topic. And it could be something that I'm very, very, very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I still have to, at the end of the day, be perceived as someone who's not an idiot.
Right.
And that's my own perception, and then as it comes out, and another person whose perception matters to me is my wife. Okay, I think that's the first time publicly I've said wife like that.
Amen.
So anyway,
yeah,
that's cool.
Can you pin that? Oops, I got out of that. Hold on. Can you pin that in your chat?
What?
The link that I just put up there? Are you able to put or you can pin your own StreamYards link up there? Because we're gonna invite people on to talk here in a minute, or in a couple of minutes, maybe, perhaps. And I will be very, very particular about who gets to come up, because I don't want this to devolve into retardedville.
All right, so
let me put this on here.
I think I may have done that wrong, so I'm just copying this link, right?
Yeah, you just copy the link up in the tab up there, and then you can paste it in your channel, then pin it. There you go. It's pinned now on mine as well. All right. So
okay, I'm working on that. Sorry.
Yeah, take your time. And I think you're up next, aren't you? For reading? Yeah, I think I just read.
So you're gonna have to tell me how to pin it, because it's saying it's too long.
No. Oh, well, I don't know what you did. There should be a StreamYards link here. Here, I'll put it in the
private chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in private chat. You'll be able to hyperlink it from there and add it. That's kind of weird. It's too long.
Well, I did it from YouTube, the YouTube side.
Oh,
I think that's what it is. So yeah, this one right here.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
I got it. All right, copy link. Okay. So
and also I want to take a moment to say a prayer. We got the rabbit, the Benghazi rabbit's in court today for his unlawful arrest. And I had a prayer request sent to me by his wife. And for those of you who are inclined, please join us in prayer. And we're going to take a moment. Dear Lord, no weapon formed against us shall prosper, Lord. And we understand that the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. It's not for us to understand some of the things that happen, Lord, but these things are an opportunity to test our faith. Paul said, count it all joy, brother, when you fall into certain trials. and tribulations, for they are the opportunity to perfect, for your patience to have a perfect work to be complete, Lord. Thank you for putting us through our paces, Lord. And we say, Inshallah, as the Islamicists say, as God wills, let it be done. Lord, we thank you for the day. We thank you for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you've yet to do, Lord. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. We also ask, Lord, that that there hopefully be a favorable outcome, that justice, that you are a just God, that justice will be served, whether it be today or 5 years from now, Lord, that justice will prevail. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
All right. And it does say to pray not in the streets loudly or standing in the synagogues like the hypocrites. I'm not praying for other people. I don't have bells on the hem of my garments to get attention here, folks. That was a prayer request. And someone asks me to pray, and I'll say, I'll pray for you. I pray right then and there, lest I forget. So I think you're up if you'd like to read that.
This formalizes a notion we all share, namely that of a dominance hierarchy, and this particular context and environment somehow intensifies the competition to climb such a hierarchy because it is being made so explicit and raised up as a desirable goal for the majority of the highly thought of members of the community to think highly of you. Often, in order to get one of these highly ranked members to think highly of you, of your degree of competence, you have to beat another person who is above you, your supposed level, with a degree of brutality that leaves no question about who is better. And this results in a very problematic pattern in the debates which transpire within such spaces. More specifically, what it causes is that individual members will attempt to set one another up for domination in the most cutthroat way possible. Need to go up.
Yeah, in response to Tav, he says, laugh out loud, do you pray for me, GS? I rebuke the devil daily, Tav. So yes, and in effect, I do pray for you by rebuking the parts of you that the devil has consumed. God talks about people have been given over to a reprobate mind. I don't know where your heart is. I don't know that you've been given over to a reprobate mind based on the things that I've seen with you, Tav. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're the Jabba the Hutt of reprobate. So Godspeed, man. Godspeed to whatever lake of urine and feces you're going to burn in forever if you continue on your path. Or you could repent. More specifically, what it causes is that individual members will attempt to set one another up for domination in the most cutthroat way possible, to try and trap the other into making statements that can then be torn apart, something they call getting premise locked. So I guess this is kind of like say if Tav's worldview is that God doesn't exist, and my worldview is that God does exist, and I say to him very, very keenly, very intelligently, very smartly, I might add, that your whole worldview necessitates the existence of God in order for your worldview to exist. So therefore, by the fact that you hold the worldview that there is no God, it necessitates that God does exist. Congratulations, you are the snake eating its own tail. You have a non sequitur premise. Repent, do better. Jesus saves. All right, I digress. And to attempt at every opportunity to dominate him and to show that you are better, stronger, and smarter in every way. In other words, it encourages a kind of brutalism and ensures that those who are trying to climb the hierarchy will be as merciless as they need to be, because after all, if all that matters is climbing the pyramid, for you to go up is for someone else to go down. And there is no point worrying about that. Just take them down any way that you can and make sure that the audience knows you won. This is the imperative which rules in such spaces. I want to comment on that. And this is before I even read this article or understood really what the blood sport was. And I said, I have no true desire to tear someone down so I could stand just a little taller and see the horizon a little bit better. I have no interest in that. But, you know, in the immortal words of the great philosopher poet Wesley Snipes in the movie Blade,
some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah, go with God, man. Your thoughts on that last paragraph before we go to the next?
Well, so I'm curious to know when, and I can't point to a specific instance, so forgive me in that regard, but oftentimes when they get to the point where, one's trying to be better than the other hierarchy wise, I seem to hear or recognize that that's when a lot of language comes in. Do you agree?
Are you talking about like gish galloping and trying to like, are you talking
UMF or
like 10,
this
10
and this and
cent
that.
words or?
Yeah, I mean, just
Oh,
like
you're talking like negative language.
yeah, I mean, and I
Yeah, I
don't.
don't like that.
I mean, I think that's because I mean, if you are making an argument, for example, and it could be a very poignant point that you're making at the time that someone can agree or disagree with, but then you, like you said, they're not arguing in good faith and they disagree or whatever, then somehow this language starts getting, and one's trying to keep other than you, higher than the other.
Mhm.
And I just wonder if you agree that that's when a lot of the language comes in these type of debates.
I just think, in my opinion, if you got to keep walking around telling people you're in charge, then you're not in charge.
Yeah.
If you got to keep, puffing your chest out and trying to like drag your junk over people to try to quote unquote dominate them, then you're just spurging out with the rest of them. It's just crabs in a bucket, at the end of the day. And I'm really not interested in that. And I think that's kind of where Tim's at. Tim's a little bit older than me. And he's like, look, man, I'm just about putting my feet in the sand, watching the sunrise or sunset and enjoying my ranch and trying to just get by. And I'm not interested in all this drama and all this infighting and stuff like that. And I look at it as an opportunity for me to build an acumen, and for me to build like to strengthen my paradigm, or my worldview, or how I exist in the world, how I operate in the world, and to show that to be able to mentor some of these people that are arguing out of bad faith, that there is an opportunity to argue out of good faith, and you may not win all the battles, but at the end of the day, the winner should be the glory goes to God, but humanity should benefit in the end when people sit and reason together, as Jesus said, "Come, let us sit and reason together." That's my motivation.
I'm going to try to find it, but you may have seen it before, but and this is something I'm not necessarily promoting anything, but I spend some time looking through like shorts and YouTube videos, and I don't ever really do anything with it, but I started to think in my mind that what happens if I actually am watching and I have my true response. But I saw a video, it was a short where, and I don't know if it was the Ukrainian prime minister or whatever he's called or some other one, but there was a little dog. I mean, it was kind of actually a big puppy, and this one guy picked up the dog by the nape of his neck and held him out, and kind of held him out, and then Putin grabbed the dog and caressed it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very different approach to acknowledging your stance in the world. I mean, in at least their own perception. Putin, a very powerful man, clearly had a different approach to this puppy, this dog, that everyone probably would perceive that should be loved and not necessarily held the way this one guy was doing it. I'll try to find that, but it's kind of a cool image in my mind that I
Yeah,
saw.
I mean, it is interesting, but I mean, there are two different approaches, and something Sarah kind of tied into during the show I found to be very fascinating, and I want to delve into a little bit more. Sarah had posited that Old Testament is new daddy God, young daddy God, and New Testament is mature daddy God, having a child in his 40s versus having a child when you're 19, where you have more patience, you have more understanding, you have more understanding how children operate in the world. You yourself aren't so closely attached to having just gotten out of childhood, whereas you have some vantage point, some distance between you and childhood, and wisdom and knowledge that you can apply, right? Which is kind of fascinating, interesting, and that's. But I do think there's a time to ragdoll someone, and then there's a time to show them mercy and grace.
Sure.
I think the key to that is that God resists the proud, Tav, and shows grace to the humble. And and when I've been proud, God has ragdolled me. He's gotten my attention, and He said, "Listen up, no, you're going to lose something now. I didn't take it from you. Your pride took it from you."
I need to step away for 1 second. I'll
Sure.
be right back. I'll be right back.
I'll continue. Well, I'll hold off and go ahead. That's all right. I'll play a little video for Tav. See, now he wants to troll. I'm gonna meme him into oblivion. Do you want me to pop you down out of the thing, or you're muted, bro?
I'm trying to think of what do I do to make my avatar
A
change.
little camera. You just hit the stop cam.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I do. Thank you.
There it is. And mute your mic if you haven't. All right, let's immortalize Tav, I guess, while we're waiting here. It's kind of funny. Where did I put that? Oh, it's in my downloads. Okay, we got that. We got you, Tav. Hang out. This is named Tav Served. I think this is it. Is this it? Yeah, I think this is it. Everyone enjoy. Yeah, take care, Freddie. Remember, liars don't go to heaven.
Quincy Gremlin under the hood, chewing lies cause he thinks he should. Hate soap and water, allergic to clean, a degenerate masturbator. You know what I mean. Corn hugs his world, where he spends his nights watching videos with goblin delights, but can't stand God. He's got some beef, lives in darkness, brings chaos and greed. Greasy Gremlin, what's your deal? Living under trust cause this monster squeal. Quite a mess, that's for sure. Greasy Gremlin, find the
Man can't fucking, do some editing. Do some fucking investigation.
It's the googly eyes for me.
Let me tell you something.
I made it. It still cracks me.
1A community motherfucker. Taking a video of a dirty fucking dryer vent.
No dirty dryer vents were hurt in the making of this video.
Or whatever the fuck it was, and giving the janitor shit.
Oh,
no janitors were hurt in the making of this
Isn't
video.
fucking auditing, you stupid motherfucker.
All those who haven't met Fergie yet.
In between giving masterclasses on what it is to be a 1A auditor, Greasy Gremlin stops to feed his giant pussy. He calls it his emotional support animal.
All right, come here. Come here. Wait a minute. You hoggy. No, there's nothing in there. They're all right here. Hold on. That's it. Big piggy. That being a pig. See, if I get treats, I have to give her treats. It's only fair.
Wasn't muted for that, was I?
You know why? Because they are. They got their feet on the street. Right? I am free. Right? Steve from Inland Auditing Media, Liberty Troll.
Oh yeah, I remember you didn't mention me in this
Fotion.
dialogue.
I didn't mention Lawrence Accountability.
I know. I just teasing.
Or Rabble Rousing.
You said you named off the good ones. I agree, and then I was like, "Say it. Say my name. Say my name."
There are some high quality H2O in the auditing community.
Tav, you're
But
just
this
you're an
fucking
ass clown. You're always going to be
ain't
an
the
ass clown
fucking,
until you repent.
Gospel. He needs to take that Bible and shove it right up his fucking ass. God, go get God to suck your dick, bitch. Does that piss you off? Jesus was a charlatan. He was a motherfucking charlatan. Best snake oil salesman in the world.
Yeah, we need to exorcise the demons.
Did he stab you in the back? No, you're reading all his shit, aren't you? I probably didn't have to go there, but I did.
That was conviction right there. You see how God convicted him? Did you see that? That was conviction. Old scriptures written on his heart said, I shouldn't have done that.
Watching videos with goblin delights, but can't stand God. He's got some beef, lives in.
So yeah, hey guys, if you haven't checked out my community page, and also there's a demonstration on how Tav parks his car or his truck. He's learning. He's just learning. Usually he's just eating spark plugs from underneath other people's hoods, but he started to drive recently, and you should check out my community page. This was also my community page where I said, imagine my surprise when I popped my hood to check my truck's oil and I found this greasy gremlin chewing on a spark plug wire. Please help me find at the Angry Vet a new home, perhaps an abandoned scrapyard where this little fella can roam free. Benghazi Rabbit, who, by the way, is the real Benghazi Rabbit. Idiots. Stupid. Know any scrapyards?
Darkness brings chaos and greed. Greasy gremlin, what's your deal? Living under trust, causes monsters squeal. Quite a mess, that's for sure. Greasy gremlin, find the new
You don't even speak English, dude. All right. Anyway. Shank. All right. Let's go back to this right here. Add that to stage and here. All right. So where were we? I think it's your turn. Yes.
Is this where it is?
Yeah. This means that there's a great deal of performativity.
Okay.
That's a good word right there. That's what Tav does. He does performative stuff.
This means... Okay, go ahead. This means that there's a great deal of performativity and of posing in these kinds of communities. And to the degree that participants in fiction debates engage in philosophy at all, is simply so that they can get a meaningless amp for their blood sports debating, which involves nothing more than collecting what could be thought of as rare Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are then deployed in the proverbial duel to convince the audience, and no doubt themselves, that they know what they're talking about. In other words, it is the appearance of knowledge, the appearance of philosophical insight, which is the aim of such learning. Because what matters in blood sports debating is not what is true, but who can come across as more in control and who sounds more knowledgeable. There is a little regard for the actual validity of the position.
There is little regard, not
little. Yeah, there is little regard for the actual validity of the position, or of the arguments put forward to justify it. This is why participants in such spectacles will often employ their philosophical knowledge in a way that actually makes little to no sense, and why they might identify a fallacy erroneously and then insist on that identification. It is the lack of due regard for the true nature of things, exemplified so perfectly in fiction debating, that causes these problematic behaviors and many more besides them.
Bingo. This is a lot longer than I thought it would be, but it's pretty in depth. I mean, it's kind of really dissecting kind of what we've seen over the last couple and a half weeks. So everyone's like, "Jess, what happened to your channel? I'm not interested in this. This is weird." Well, it's an exercise.
How long has it been? The whole course. How long did it run, or how long has it been running?
Oh yeah, it's still running. Probably about 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks when and it's interesting because Siege D came into my channel and warned me not to work with those people. Yet the guy he's attached to his hip, which would be Glenn Lawrence, is always on their channels. So I found that a little bit weird how Siege D was like, "Oh, GS, blah blah blah. Don't hang around with those people. They're bad news." And yet his producer, pastor Glenn Lawrence, is in that channel all the time, talking and having debates. I'm actually Glenn Lawrence and I are going to have hopefully we're going to set up an interesting conversation, a debate akin to what we're going to talk about in part 2 here, which we should probably get to soon. My goodness, hold on, let me see.
We're at an hour and 6 minutes.
Yeah, this is long. I think we get the gist. Do you think we get the gist?
Yeah, I'm sure if you drop a link for others to, and I'm a proponent for, if we use something, making it available to somebody. I don't know if we put the link already, but
I'll put it in the private chat and I'll add it to the notes hopefully.
Okay.
But I don't want to put it in the thing because people will click on it and then they'll be off the
Oh
channel.
yeah.
I try not to get people off there. That said, so let's go off of this. So this was basically your query, your thoughts. Do you want to put a bow on the blood sports part? Why we move into the next phase?
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial kind of, I described it as spidey sense. I'm not certain I will ever appear on any of those panels. And I'm not saying that I'm afraid of it or anything like that, but I just don't necessarily find any worth for it for me. But that being said, I think as long as people decide, like you say in good faith. I like the way that you put it, in good faith. You can have discussions like we do every week, basically, whereby you can tell that there's respect with regards to the topic and our approach to discussing something. I think that's fine. But far too often I see where the blood sport type of thing, it doesn't serve the purpose. And that the article that we just read talks about why.
Yeah.
So,
and that's we get a little bit of blood sport going on right now with the angry vet just kind of crapping on people that he claimed to appreciate not too long ago. And then when they tell him the truth of your behavior is the reason why I unsub to you. Now, if your little demons don't want to be part of my channel, Tav, I count that as a blessing from God that it's been that my that the wheat and the chaff have been separated a little bit more to be ready for harvesting. Thank you very much. Please continue to erode my subscriptions as you claim I lost 509, which is interesting. First of the 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment. I like that number. When I was at like 1,150 and now I'm up to 220 something or 1,220. I don't know how you math things, dude, but maybe just don't partake in the cannabis for like a day or two and try to get your math on a little bit better. So
is there a common, not common ground, but obviously there's a rift between the two of you.
Yeah. When a veteran tells me he's got my 6 and then proceeds to stab me in the back and not have my 6. Yeah. I take umbrage to that. Sure. That tells me you're a liar. The truth is not in you. You are 100% in my book a reprobate. So you don't say that to a vet. I never said I had his 6. He said he had, I've heard that Cliff told me, oh, you're a decent, he said, you're a good man, GS. You have my loyalty. Yeah. Well, there's two veterans that have, said something that they really never meant in the first place. So yeah, I'm a man of my word. I take people at their word. You say you're going to do something, I expect you're going to do it unless you have a really good reason not to. But if you make a claim or a proclamation and you don't really mean it, words are just air. What are your actions? Your actions spoke very, very loud. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I've yet to have any beef, so to speak, with anyone, including, and it's interesting. I've even done a parody type video before, but I saw it when it was beginning, and I still have yet to go to the beginning of when it all started. But you know, it is what it is, and I think that you will find the path that allows you to be able to walk proudly through your journey, and I feel like I'll do the same. So all that being said, and all that to say that I don't intend to be distracted by anything that's going on in chat when it's distracting.
Mhm.
And if you and I are engaged in what we're doing and we're giving what we need to give to the audience, and so be it. But you know,
Yeah.
more
So I'm
power
liking
to
this.
you.
I'm liking this line of inquiry here. So my question, the frequently asked question that I wanted to put forward, and we might have to. This might take weeks to really flesh out. We might revisit it 2 or 3 weeks from now. You know, who knows? So my question, my premise was degeneracy. Is it enough to not partake in it? Or in order for one to be considered moral, should one actively pursue measures to defeat degeneracy or to stand against it? Whatever that looks like. Some people that's Bible thumping people. Some people that's yelling at them with a loud horn. Some people that's just speaking the truth of the gospel, the good news and the bad news, that there's a heaven to gain and a hell to shun. The premise has always been, in order for evil to prevail, all that is required is for a good man to stand by and do nothing. Or evil has to tell you what it's going to do. It's up to you to stand against it. You know, like for instance, stuff comes out in movies, or they tell you on the news what they're planning on doing it, and you're like, no, that's ridiculous. That's conspiracy. That's blah blah blah. So you just kind of fall asleep, and in the process of doing so, you kind of acquiesce to evil having its way because you're not standing against it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, and I think I may have asked to clarify. So two things come to mind when we talk about the degeneracy and doing nothing. So I think of like a Schindler's List type thing where you do something to keep a greater evil from occurring, or like the Underground Railroad kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of those as synonymous, right? So there could be people who disagree with what's occurring,
mm-hmm.
and they either decide to, because they can't, or they're fearful for their family themselves, but they don't do anything at all, or they do something, even if it's surreptitiously, in secrecy, they help the cause for the good, right? So
mm-hmm.
save slaves from being caught and taken back, or in Schindler's List, hide Anne Frank. Am I on the right kind of idea with what you're talking about, or is that something different?
So, well, I mean, I've heard the sentence or the statement by the woke left or the leftist, silence is violence. It's not enough to not be a racist. You have to actively stand against racism. Otherwise, you are a racist. So it's not enough to not harbor racist thoughts or beliefs in your heart, that you have to actually fight Nazis. You have to punch Nazis in the mouth. That's what the left likes to say when they LARP, when they do live action role playing. So just to not be a racist isn't good enough, Craig. You have to actively stand against it. You have to virtue signal, Craig. Otherwise, you are a racist.
And virtue signal, you mean I have to
Tav is a virtue signal. Tav is the epitome of a virtue signal. He claims all these virtues and all these beliefs and likes to try to throw a person's religion and their face against them. Saul Alinsky, who is a Jew, by the way, Tav. Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, right? You use your enemy's virtues against them, even though you yourself don't possess those virtues. So it's a little bit of an underhanded tactic, but all's fair in love and war. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I was not distracted. Like I said, I was trying not to be, but I was looking at the chat. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right. So the question is, been presented. Do you have any thoughts on the question?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating question for sure. And it reminds me of something that I heard last night. Like, do you do something if it's because of the cause, even if you think it's going to affect your family? Do you remember that question last night?
Well, the question was, do you break the law to feed your family, or do you let them suffer because you want to uphold the law.
Yeah, so along the lines of what you're talking about, I think there are like, and you prefaced this in the very beginning. You said it's a wide question, and you can come at it from very many different angles. But the safety of myself, the safety of my family comes into play in my mind. And is it enough just to passively disagree with something, or do you actually have to do something? I guess it's all dependent on a lot of other factors, at least in my mind. I mean, that's just on the surface. I think it's more difficult than just asking the question is I guess what I'm saying. Which is probably maybe why you posed it that.
Well, that question was a different one. And I made a comment that I was basically saying that Based Oracle was my son, so therefore I would uphold the law and let him starve. I was just being a smart ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, that's kind of like the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike, and good things happen to bad people and bad things can happen to good people or decent people, as it were.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
On the side, I mean, like what you said, you mentioned something about the left thinking or saying that you have to actively fight racism or you're a racist. I think that those two don't necessarily exist in the same vein. I mean, you could say that you're not a racist and have done nothing to prevent.
Yeah, it's not my argument. It's the
No,
people
I know.
that will
Yeah.
they'll constantly move the goalposts no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work to show them that you're a decent human being. They'll move the goalpost and they'll just hit and blow the belt with something new. So it's appeasing crocodiles, man, is basically what it is. At some point in time, you're going to run out of freaking villagers to feed to them. And guess what? You want to get across the river. You got to take your chance. You're the last idiot in the village.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm not by any means avoiding the question that you pose. I still think it's fascinating. All I'm really saying is that when I think about it, it's like, which way do I skin this cat? Degeneracy. Do I just simply say,
Okay, so for instance, is it enough not to partake in Cornhub like the degenerate masturbator does, Tav, the angry vet? Is it enough to not partake in Cornhub, or should you actively speak out against degenerate masturbation and degenerate behavior, like I'm doing right now? Is it enough not to be a degenerate masturbator? It's a good start, but is it enough? Or should you actively stand against that which is evil? I mean, there's a lot of SA going on there. There's a lot of S slavery going on there. There's a lot of words that I can't really say without getting algorithmically nailed. For instance, here in the 50s, everyone likes to say, oh, you want to go back to the 50s because it was more white. No, it was more moral. There were more people at church. Here's an example of what men used to do. It says this picture says this is exempt property from seizure. This is a widow's homestead. The guy on the ground who's being arrested by a bunch of farmers and all the farmers that are standing in the driveway so that no vehicle can even pull in there are all farmers. They're all Bible believing, God fearing men that are arresting a sheriff who came to try to evict a widow out of her homestead. So my question is it enough?
You said this is in the 50s?
Yeah, this is a 52 or 53, I think.
In what state?
I couldn't tell you. I could look it up, but I mean, the picture says 1,000 words. You put it any state.
Well, so now I know we have deliberately decided that I asked the question because I want to know what else is going on during that period of time.
I think it was in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah,
I mean,
so I'm just curious.
The point of the picture is that there was a widow. So I'm imagining somebody probably died in the war. The bank was trying to repossess the homestead. And in that particular point in time, it had been established that a widow's homestead was exempt from repossession. I mean, shortly after World War II, the greatest generation's coming home. So most didn't come home, right? And so, and the bank doing what the bank does, right, Tav? Wink, wink, nod, nod. So, greasy gremlin. So, I don't understand how you're not engaging the question. You're kind of dancing all around the question. So, I mean, the question would be, is it enough to not engage in degeneracy, or should, in order to be considered a moral man or woman, should you actively pursue measures to stand against it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just simply saying that whether or not I'm capable of engaging or doing something specifically in opposition to it or not doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not against it. So I to me, it presents a certain type of a dilemma. That's all I'm saying. So I tried to give examples of what I think that what you're saying means. I don't ever go out and proselytize against essaying and this and this and that, but I'm sure you probably would know that I'm against those things. So
Right,
I
but
don't.
so you're saying I don't actively go out and proselytize. Like, I had this conversation with Glenn, and he kind of reacted like, "Oh, you're out there with your megaphone yelling at people, trying to shame them." Like, no, you're doing what the Bible says you're supposed to do. Jesus instructed us to go to all corners of the world and preach the gospel. There's good
So
news
what
and
is the
there's bad
gospel?
news. There's good news and bad news. It's the gospel. It's what Jesus said.
Okay.
You don't know what the gospel is?
No, I'm well.
There's a
So
heaven to gain, a hell to shun, that
No, yeah.
liars
When I ask what the gospel is, I want to know. You said preach the gospel. I want to know what it is that you perceive that to be, or what it is that you're defining that as. So, that Christ came and died for our sins, so that we can have eternal life. The good news, whatever. So that's what I was asking.
Well, 1 Corinthians 6:10 is a good start. So we'll go Bible. We'll go. Here we go. So let's go to the good book, man. Go ahead and fill time if you like, while I'm looking this up to try to answer your question.
Oh yeah. Let's face it.
Come on, content creator.
I'm still in the what do you call it?
I make this look way too easy. Just admit it.
You are a professional. Let's put it that way.
I'm a legend in my own mind. I mean, time.
Even apart from a spiritual level, masturbate. Oh, we cannot say that word.
Yeah. So stick around, Tav. This is for you, and I'm going to say it because it's in the Bible. Now, therefore, it is already an utterance failure for you that you go to law against one another. Why do you not rather accept wrong? Why do you not rather let yourself be cheated? No, you yourselves do wrong and cheat, and you do these things to your brethren. And by the way, Tav, you're not my brother, because you're not my brother in Christ. Those are my brothers. My brothers and sisters in Christ are my brothers and my sisters. You, my friend, are a heathen or a tax collector. I will pray for you that you will see the light, for the light shone in the darkness, and the darkness could not comprehend it. But remove the veils, my friend. Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you. He's talking to the saints. Were, that's past tense, meaning if you call yourself a saint, if you call yourself a Christian, in that moment, you're not actively sinning, because if you are actively sinning, you're not a Christian. I have fallen in and out of being able to label myself a Christian, sometimes 2 or 3 times within the span of 5 minutes. But the key is you have to repent, turn from that behavior, humble yourself, seek God's face, and turn from your wicked ways, and God will heal the land.
Sorry, what is the verse that you said that you're reading? 6 through what?
Well, it's 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and it basically starts off at 10. Nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God, and such were some of you. But you were washed, and you were sanctified, and you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus and by the Spirit of our God. So it's a past tense thing. So that doesn't mean you have to keep sinning, Tav. You can turn away from it, buddy. You don't have to, you don't have to be in a repent, walking in a circle, getting dizzy. Hey, Ajot, good to see you. So no, I mean, listen, there's a purpose to this, Ajot. He's not disrupting the chat. He's actually helping my algorithm. Insane. What's my opinion on Joel Osteen? I pray that he will repent. That's what I do. Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, Creflo Dollar. Most of those possible gospel people, I'm not here to bear false witness against them. Their behaviors would not be my behaviors necessarily. And I don't think that they would accept some of the behaviors that come out of my mouth. so, I'm not necessarily trying to cast stones. I'm just saying sin is sin, my friends. And all of it separates us from God. That said, Craig, you look like you got some fat you want to chew on.
No, I was pulling up the previous link that you sent and looking at the things. But back to what you said about whether or not what you were concerned or wondering why it is that I wasn't engaging. And I apologize on some level that I'm not grasping the question that you're asking, but it just presents for me a dilemma in considering it. So and I don't know exactly why, but I guess that's why you didn't pose a question that is so low hanging fruitish, right? Or did you? There's some difficulty in the question for maybe by design.
Well, there's difficulty in it because it requires something of you. For instance, salvation is freely offered, but there's a cost. There's a caveat. There is a quid pro quo. You can get salvation, but you have to give up these things. Your sin. You have to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior, that no one goes to the Father but through the Son. Right? You have to. He was born. He died on the cross. Was resurrected. John 3:16. For God so loved the world. And it's like, well, the thing, as Joe Biden would say. So for me, it's an interesting thing because the two commandments in the New Testament cover the Old Testament's commandments. Meaning, if I am putting no God before, he's the Alpha, he's the Omega, right? And I acknowledge the Son, the death, the burial, and the resurrection of the Son, and that no man goes to the Father but through the Son, I know that that's my pathway. Mm-hmm. And it's the width of Jesus's shoulders. That's the straight and narrow that I'm meant to walk in order to find it. And many go by the broad path that leads to destruction, and few are going to go by the narrow path. Few, which means that my odds are probably, but I think the fact that I realize my odds are probably zero, but I still strive. I struggle with God. I struggle with my understanding of God. I struggle to be better. And I think the thing that breaks me down as a human being is, in the end times, many will say, Lord, Lord, did I not prophesy in your name? Did I not cast out demons? Did I not, heal the injured? Did I not bring sight to the blind? This, that, and the other thing. And what Jesus' response was going to be, away from me, you doers of iniquity, for I never knew you. I can sit here all day long and say, I know Jesus. But when I'm standing before having to be responsible for every one of my idle words aimed at, the greasy gremlin down there in the chat, is he going to say that he knows me? Is he going to say, you ran your race, you true and faithful servant, now rest? Or is he going to say, away from me, you doer of iniquity, for I never knew you? I have a crippling awareness of the fact that the latter will probably be my fate, because I feel woefully unworthy to be in the kingdom of heaven. And maybe, not that I'm playing a little reverse psychology on God, because that won't work. And maybe that precisely might be the only thing that gives me a snowball's chance in hell. Thoughts? What's up, Flow State? Good to see you. Thanks for showing up, man. Well, on that, put a pin in it, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you prefaced it from the very beginning that it might take weeks for us to go through it. So I think we've laid the foundation of the question. And actually, I know I've heard you kind of deposited in the very beginning and in other different forms. So we have it before us. I think we can certainly move it forward. I don't know. What do you think about? I don't know. What will we address if we were going to address anything in the chat? Obviously, we see that Tav has been in there doing what he's doing.
Well, I think we should. I think we should address the fact that Tav is finally driving. He's able to be on the road again, and I think we should acknowledge that. I think he should do a little bit better. Tav, I understand that you just got your license back, and you probably shouldn't medicate though. So
Yeah, I know it's good, man, that you didn't take out the lady and her kids, man.
Oh my God.
there's Tav. He's learning how to park his truck.
You didn't take out the lady and her kids, man.
Do better, Tav.
Oh my God.
I remember when I saw this originally.
Yeah, I know it's
I
good, man,
swore I
that you
thought
didn't
he
take
was
out
going
the
to
lady
break
and
his
her kids,
legs.
man.
Oh my.
He probably did. I don't know, he probably died of a heart attack. But you do better, Tav. Just do better, man. Just put the fork down. Stop abusing your pussy. Stop feeding your giant pussy, because that thing needs to be on a diet too, Tav. Just gonna throw that out there. That's animal abuse, I think. So is he still in the chat? This is the worst parking job I've ever seen. Tav, you got to do better than that, buddy. And like the guy said in the video, it's a good thing you didn't hit that woman and the child.
No
Just
doubt.
do better, man.
No doubt.
All right. Let's see. Let me link that. And you got any last words? You want to address anything in the chat? Well, Vegas VIP seems to enjoy your driving. I think Tav left though. He ran away because he knew it was coming. I swear I've never seen Tav from the waist down, so I think he walks around in like adult Depends diapers. You know, he looks like baby Huey to me. Maybe someday he'll grow up.
So you tell me something. This is like a, I don't know if it's a housekeeping thing, but when you do a live and whatever the comments are that are going on during the live, do they not appear in whatever, like, you know, on the side? Do they disappear? I guess is the question I'm asking.
What? I'm sorry, the comments?
Yeah, that people are giving to us now.
Yeah, it
during the
depends
live.
on. Yeah, it depends on. If some of them might be in your live, some of them might be in my live. So you won't be able to see the ones that are in your live or my live,
Unless I go to your channel and watch.
right?
Your,
Unless, yeah.
because we're both dual feed. I mean, I'm both. We're both
Mhm.
what do you call it? Dual feeding it or whatever. They're streaming it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in your channel. How you only got 4 people in your channel? Y'all need to do better.
No, they all. I mean, they've been going back and forth. So, I mean, I don't know. I've heard you say you describe the numbers that are going on while it's happening.
Because Angry's like, you can't go 5 minutes without talking about me. Every one of my chats like, dude, no, it's already over, dude. I've already knocked you the heck out. I'm just standing over you going, why are you still talking shit? You're out, dude. You're out laying on your ass, man. And Brick says it's like watching Tyson versus Galifianakis. You know, the guy from In Between Two Ferns on the Hangover.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like watching Tyson take care of Wait, who's Galifianakis? Oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I think GS has 2 screens up.
That's what you're talking about, right? The that's his last name, Galifianakis.
That's not his last name.
No, the guy who does the 2 ferns.
Yeah, he's a Greek guy. That's why he's funny. He's one of my Greek brothers, so it kind of hurts a little bit to compare him to the Greasy Gremlin. Greasy Gremlin. All right. You got to find a new allure, man. That's going to be like a top seller at some point in time. That's going to be like a #1 hit, dude. That's going to hit the charts.
What about the song that you're making? Are you going to play us out?
Oh, you want me to strum on the guitar a little bit?
Hello, but the device Craig is on is charging, so can't talk there.
Oh, she's saying that the device that you're on, she's watching you to give you some views there.
Thank you, Dove. We appreciate you.
Let me put that up there so it's not in there. I don't know. I'm just strumming.
I'll play for you one day.
Do you play?
A little bit. I mean,
can you hear that?
I can hear it. Yeah.
How's it sound? Is it?
Sounds good. What kind of axe is that?
It's just a little Fender. I got it for the lady only wanted $50 for it, but man, you should have seen the one I had. That thing had it just had the worst body and fret. Like I was chasing the tune around constantly. I thought I was the worst guitar player ever. And then I ended up giving her $60 because she waited like a week for me to pick it up. And I was in a guitar class, and I was using my GI Bill out of college, and I was at a guitar class, and man, it was horrible. And she came by and she was like, "Hey, is anyone interested in a guitar?" And I'm like, "It's a Fender, dude." And I had to jump on it. This thing sounds, compared to the other one, so much better, man. This thing in the hands of a guy who knows how to play, or a girl, it's freaking amazing, dude. Me, not so much. You have a Fender?
Like that, what you have, but mine's dark.
Oh, hold on.
FAQ GS2.
Yeah, it's just I haven't even like played the song. My calluses are all gone again.
I every now and then I get inspired to pick up my guitar and do it again, but I haven't played for a while. So.
I'd love to hear you just strum on it. I can just listen to people strum, and there's something about like you know, a discordant chord. I would say this is how I would describe Bloodsport, and I think the chat might agree with this a little bit. There's a discordantness to Bloodsport, right? It's discordant. It's kind of like you know, you're sitting there, you got a carrot, and you're grating a carrot, and then your finger slips, and you kind of grate your knuckle a little bit, and you're like, ah, you know, it's that feeling like it's going great, it's going smooth, all of a sudden, chunk, ah. That's what Bloodsport feels like to me. It feels dishonest. It feels discordant. It doesn't feel like
I feel like the word, or one of the words, maybe it's a synonym, is dissonant.
Yep.
I mean, that it sounds like it might be the same word, but
yeah, dissonant means actually, let's look that up. But I'll look up discordant. You look up dissonant. Discordant. We're taking you all back to school. Discordant is an adjective that means not in agreement. It also describes things that combine in a way that is strange or unpleasant.
all right. So dissonant, it says is lacking harmony. So it might be like your word that you're using can be
broadly applied. Yep.
Not necessarily musical, but the dissonant sounds like it must be specific to music. Same concept. I would play now, but Liza's working. So I said I would play now, but Liza's working.
Oh, she's working. Yeah, I'd love to check that out. But I had like this kind of like a song in my head. It's called like basically Heaven's Dance Floor, and it's kind of like and I'm looking for anyone that can improve on it because I don't know that I have the chops for it. But it's kind of like a waltz, so it's kind of like in this. It's kind of like a. Yeah, so it's just kind of like
your boys grow up to be fat boys.
Yeah. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be degenerate, greasy gremlins. Don't spit. I should make jokes while you're drinking. Anyway, so yeah, I appreciate everyone hanging out and stuff. And let's see. Let's go ahead and pimp your channel out. You got anything coming up you want to promote? Anything you want to share with the audience? Anything you're proud of, per se? Anything you're working on? What do you got going on there, Craig?
Well, I did launch a video today. I think it was either Rats or maybe it was Tim.
I think Rat says she's going to watch it after this.
Yeah, so check it out. Those of you who know or have seen anything from my channel know that I have a passion for body worn camera footage. In my state, it is not considered public. It's not public records. So there's a certain process that you have to go through in order to obtain them. And I'm personally going through the counties. There are 100 counties in North Carolina. So I'm starting with the sheriff's department and see if I can find information that way. That's kind of like where I'm going right now. I'm waiting for the first kind of tier of my efforts to come back. I did 5 of them, the ones closest to me. 3 out of the 5 have responded on some level. I'm just waiting for all the information to come back. Then that will kind of give me my foundation for what I will do for the rest written. And then if I need to visit them directly, then I'll do that. So that's where my channel's FAQ the Madness, Fact the Madness. I'm anxiously trying to get to 500. I mean, I know 1,000 is a mark, but
well, 500
right now.
I think 500 allows you to do community posts too, if I'm not mistaken.
I can do,
and maybe even super chats and stuff. I think it might even open up super chats.
Maybe, yeah.
I think 1,000 is AdSense. So yeah, look into it, man. Yeah. Cool beans. I'm gonna share something. Also, I just want to put out for the record. I heard my name dragged slanderously through the mud by for public safety when he claims that when I first met him that I told him that I had PTSD. Those words never came out of my fucking mouth. And the fact that you repeat them often and loudly, and the fact that good old Greasy Gremlin likes to say that I have PTSD and that I should go see a head shrink like him so I can get all whacked out on all kinds of drugs. Yeah, you can cease and desist it, or you can continue to do it. Life's about choices. Either way, I'm going to correct the record. I've never claimed to have PTSD. It's not something that I never felt more at peace than when I was literally in a war zone. I don't know. I think I'd be more likely to fall apart if something happened to one of my children and I couldn't take their pain away than I would be to be holding, a dead brother in my arms, because we all signed up for that stuff. The kids didn't. That said, I'll correct the record on that, but I would like to pimp my channel. I got a lot of interesting shorts. I'm going to start making some more shorts here pretty soon. There's some cooking shorts, some homesteading shorts. These are free for you guys to check out. Rats, I don't know. Did you get a chance to try the applesauce yet? I'm curious as to whether or not you liked it.
Check out that steak one.
Yeah, you haven't, or have you? Well, it starts.
I'm going to.
Yeah, it starts actually here. So it goes here, here, and here. It's a 4-parter. Okay. So it starts with the reduced red wine mushroom for our ribeye, then ribeye prep time for the onion right here. And then it goes, this is the final kind of the product with plating, I think it has. But check that out. I got a bunch of videos. I got some tribute videos here. Here's the high noon with, I guess I didn't finish that one, but, there's the Hendry, a lot of promotional videos. I still think they're fun to watch. I think there's some pretty witty things. Good.
That tin foil thing looks really cool.
Yeah, somebody made that for me.
Imagine that.
Craig made that for me. He made my generally specific thing, which is really kind of cool. It really helped me. I don't know. That feels too long, and it feels a little. I don't think people that are new to my channel will understand that I don't take myself that seriously, even though I am the most handsome and humble man on the internet.
You might. You got a little competition with the tall, dark, and handsome young man sitting right.
Do you say? Do you say? All right. So, and I've got the videos there. I got a bunch of lives. I think what I'm going to start doing with my lives is I'm going to put those behind the member wall. I think I'm going to start putting them all behind the member wall. So if you want to have access to my lives to try to clip it up and try to slander my name and destroy me, you're gonna have to pay me 99 cents a month, or at least for a day, I guess. I don't know, until you cancel it. That said, yeah, I got all kinds of things coming up. I got live. Here we go. Like, for instance, we got the Live with Luno. Where is it? Right here. Highly recommend you check that out if you haven't. So we got Live with Luno on the trail. We got 2 of those in the book right now. And Luno's like kind of like a kinder, gentler spirit animal of mine that he doesn't overtly. Yep. Taco Tuesday. Here, let me put you on the big screen there.
There you go.
There it is. Oh, your tag's on the way.
I gotta
Hold
stand
on.
up just a little bit. Wait, there you
Yeah,
go.
come on. Get on the box, dude. I thought you were like 6'2", dude.
Oh,
No,
I am like 6'2". There you go.
It's got a little sombrero. You want to tell people what you realize that actually meant?
Oh, so I used to work with a guy. I was a lab tech. I am a lab tech. I still can do it. But and every Tuesday he would say, it's Taco Tuesday. He would go home for lunch. And I literally thought he ate tacos on Tuesday, but he was talking about, let's just call them adult bedroom games. And in fact, his son, who he named Miles, they literally figured out to the day when he was conceived, and it was on a Taco Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. So Taco Tuesday is kind of like,
well, it's really quite simple. It's kind of like, gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab some afternoon delight. My motto's always been, when it's right in the middle of a cold dark night, when everything's a little clearer in the light of day. And we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you, forget of my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight. Robin's.
yeah. I love Brick, dude. Look at his face right there. Dude, Brick, lamp. I love chair. I love lamp. I love desk. Brick, are you just saying random things in the room? Loud noises.
Squirrel.
Have you seen Anchorman?
Yeah, long time ago.
Classic, dude. Classic. I love when they get in a fight with like PBS and all the other ones and all the different news. Go ahead. Your thoughts?
No, I was just gonna say it's not like one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption and like Seven. I know those movies because I've watched them tons of times, but I don't know the same with this. I just remember some of the scenes, but yeah.
Book of Eli.
Oh, that's a good one.
Book
and I
of
don't
Eli.
remember that one either. But,
that one's a great one. I never get sick of watching that one.
Sticks and stones together make a sparks ignite, and the thought of loving you is getting so exciting. Sky rockets in flight.
Afternoon delight.
You guys have it, I think.
Afternoon delight.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Hopefully it doesn't get me copyright. Too bad.
Well,
I
we were
paused
singing
it
in the
enough.
Yeah, you did.
So Okaloosa has let's see. See, now you don't read your chat. I guess I'll read your chat for you there. FAQ. Okaloosa has what else you want to know? 3 officers killed in the line of duty a few years back, I believe, within a year, and prior to that, none. That's in response to a question you were talking about.
Yeah, she was just mentioned. So the video that I did was about an airman that was who lost his life from a call that they came to, and but it's the same.
That black gentleman.
Yeah, it's the same.
He lost his life.
Yeah, they came and he came to the door with a gun in his hand, pointed down.
Oh, yes.
And it's the same. And it is
that.
It's the same county that the same county got spooked by an acorn falling on the car, and he shot.
So that's interesting because they covered that on the Matt and Blonde show last night, and Matt had an interesting take on it. He said, because Matt's a real pro 2A guy, Now his question was, now there's some speculation that they actually went to the wrong door, meaning either the manager got the wrong door,
Mm-hmm.
or they went to the wrong. I don't know what the alleging is. I know the manager was saying, he was like saying you F and B and all this other stuff and screaming. There's a lot of fighting going on. When somebody bangs on your door and says, "Sheriff, you're in your own apartment. You have every right to walk around your own apartment armed." He had the weapon at the low ready. I don't know if that would be considered brandishing, but the weapon was at the low ready. From my understanding, it never left the low ready at the thigh. I had that similar situation with a neighbor that I told, "Do not step on my driveway." He decided he was going to step on my driveway when I was there specifically to tell him, "You do not have permission to step foot on my property." Curtilage or otherwise, you're trespassing. I'm being told you're verbally trespassing. I did this live on Periscope, and I drew my weapon. I had 40 people on the channel, and they thought that I was going to murder that dude, not kill that dude, because murder is the unjustified taking of life. They thought that I was going to delete that dude right then and there on live stream. And had he taken another step, I would have dropped him right where he stood. And I had it all live streamed. The cops came. Turns out the guy was setting up some bullshit. He was a neighbor. And let's just say he was one of the tribe members this is long before I understood that the tribe were someone that you had to watch out for, because not only did they want to nail Jesus to a tree, they want to nail every other Gentile to a tree too. Anyway, go ahead.
So the officer, I thought it was interesting. The officer presents himself to the door, and he's about to knock. You can't see this, but he's apparently listening for something. He steps away from the door, as in away from the field of view.
Oh, interesting. I was wondering why the
knocks
guy
5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, steps off to the side, says, "Sheriff's department, come out." And then he knocks again, and you can hear the guy respond like something like, "I think it's the police," whatever, blah, blah, blah. He finally opens the door, kind of as directed to do. Now, I might say, and normal people might say, "Why did you come to the door with a gun?" But like, as you said, it wasn't in the ready position. And it begs to ask the question that if people realize that you don't necessarily want to come to the door armed, and all you have to do is say, "I'm the sheriff," then they could have ill will and then come and have you open up the door.
I mean, how many times have you seen that on a ring cam where they say county blah 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 and they're banging on it and they got a gun in their hand, they're waiting for you to open the door so they can shoot you and rob you? Exactly. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, I would have shown up, especially nowadays, seeing all these damn ring cams, people trying to pretend that they're maintenance or pretending that they're you're right, dude. And so and that's what Matt from the Matt and Blonde show said. He's like, now, is it wise to go to the door if there's a sheriff on the other side of the door with a gun in your hand, unholstered?
And you don't necessarily, I mean, I don't think he was obliged to actually do anything. He could have just not come to the door.
Right.
I mean, but that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is,
well, actually, hold on though, because if it's considered a welfare check, they do have a right to break that door down. Because that's basically what the call was. It was considered a possible domestic with a welfare check. And I think in some states, it's mandatory that if there is any kind of a domestic, somebody has to get taken away, even if no one wants to press charges. The state does it.
Okay, well then, if that's the case,
and I could be wrong.
Well, and I haven't looked at it, so we'll just say that we might be talking about some things that we're not absolutely certain about. Fair warning. But that being the case, he asked the individual he identified himself and asked for him to open the door. So I mean, if he had the right to bust open the door for whatever reason that he believed in, then he could have just done so. But he said, "Come open the door." The guy opens the door, and just because you see a gun, does that mean that you're going to fire? Maybe there are people walking around openly carrying outside all the time. Do you immediately see a gun and then start shooting? He started shooting almost immediately. I mean, I just think the whole interaction was problematic. That's my stance. And I would love to hear the 911 call.
I mean, here we go.
My thing is clear.
What's that?
I said my view is clear.
Can you see it?
Yeah, like it's way clear. Let's go to my. Go ahead.
No, I've got it purposely. This is whatever is being shown because I don't want to get struck.
Oh yeah, I understand. Got you.
So
What's going on? I'm not sure. I just was told to let her know if you guys come by. So I'm gonna give her a quick call. She has a, so there was some fight going on or something? I was not ready for that. Are they fighting or something? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. He did identify himself.
initially, I didn't hear him identify. He just knocked on the door, and then afterwards, he said, "Sheriff's Department, come to the door, open the door," or something like that. I heard him say that twice loudly, but I think twice. But here we go.
I think he did it.
I mean, here's the cam, right?
And I was hearing.
And for the record, I am going to skip past, even though it's blurred out, I'm still going to skip past it because I don't have any kind of warning at the beginning of this live. And I really don't want it to get taken down. I mean, Brick says secure your person's situational awareness. It is very interesting, though. I mean, does the wolf have to ask permission to have fangs and claws? Should man have to ask permission to arm himself? Should a man not be able to be armed walking around his own domicile? Should a man not be able to come to a door armed? Should that the problem that we as citizens are viewed as the enemies to police is, I think that is a question for a future FAQ. How can we bridge that gap where, like I keep saying, we got all these barriers between us and our servants? It's starting to feel like they're the jailers and we're in the open air jail, which I've heard a lot of people express. So maybe that's good.
You make me remember. So I was a lab tech for 14 years, and we had something which is called universal precautions, which meant that we treated every sample as if it was potentially hazardous. You know, AIDS, hepatitis, those kind of things. So likewise, what if officers assumed that the individual that they are going to be addressing could be armed? If they actually thought that way, then when they saw a gun that was not to the ready, then maybe they wouldn't react so extreme. You know, they might just say, "Okay, sir, while we are engaging, can you holster your weapon?" Or I'm going to step outside, and we'll have a discussion, but I can't have this conversation with your gun out. Something to that effect. I'm not saying that those are the exact words, but I don't know if that would be ideal, but ultimately maybe they should approach. I mean, people have said before, don't you think that people would be more kind and more courteous to each other if everyone was armed?
An armed society is a polite society.
Is a polite society, yeah.
Right. So you trigger something in my mind that says, and this is kind of what I was just saying right there, was like, look, we have a Second Amendment, for the love of God. We have a right to protect ourselves. And the fact that a guy can't walk down the street with a slung rifle across his back, which is not against the law. And the fact that all these Karens and all these like whiny little liberals, with respect, most liberals, not liberals, leftists, liberals like guns too. These out of control leftists, are like just crying and screaming, "Oh, it's dangerous. Freedom is dangerous." How many times has the 1A community said freedom is dangerous, right? I've heard that so many times. Yet, because it's not understood that, as to Craig's point, that now you can look at it different ways. If you're to treat every vial of those has the most hazardous biochemical toxins or whatever in it, then that means you're going to treat everything with care and caution and respect. It's like somebody said, I don't mind handling snakes. I just need to know where the head is. Because if you grab the wrong end, it's going to bite you, right? So to your point, to your point, in the Wild Wild West, per capita, there were less violent crimes because, like you said, an armed society was a polite society. It was more understood that if you said the wrong thing at the wrong time, somebody might call you on it, and they'll jerk that smoke wagon and get to work. And so people kind of mind their P's and Q's. So it's interesting because I almost think that that's a double-edged sword. But if someone signs up to be a police officer, knowing that everyone that they're going to interact with is likely going to be armed, and they're scared of that, then they probably wouldn't sign up to be a police officer. So that would necessarily eventually sort itself out, meaning someone that feels secure with the fact that his fellow citizens have arms. Like me, when I see people walking around open carrying or knowing people are concealed carrying, I feel safer. I don't feel endangered. I like to see someone, especially if someone looks like they know what the hell they're doing. It makes me feel safer in my environment to see someone with a sidearm on their hip. And I think open carrying does bring out a politeness in most ne'er-do-wells that yeah, somebody can try to jerk it or snatch it, but I mean, that could be a life-ending decision for if they're not quick enough. But that said, I don't, that's a good question for the future, man. You got me. I'm not quite sure how to proceed with that. It could be a double-edged sword, or it could also be a self-fixing problem, meaning if everyone is considered to be armed and very dangerous, then there should be a respect factor by the police. You don't talk to them. You don't treat them a certain way. Otherwise, it could end up with the police officer losing their ability to breathe, kicking their addiction to oxygen, as it were.
So think about it this way. I believe that most cops perceive quote unquote criminals to be armed or potentially armed, and they treat them a certain way. Right, cautiously, put your hand on the car, all these different things that they do with quote unquote criminals. Now, if they treated regular citizens that are perceived to be law abiding the same way, then when they saw a gun, they wouldn't necessarily react as if they were a criminal and shoot them or had ill will. I just happen to be armed, and you happen to be coming to my door to ask me about something that you think might be wrong, and you're doing your due diligence to ascertain that it's not wrong, but I'm now dead. Yeah, I think that's problematic, and especially in a state that is arguably a compassionate state. So, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Rat says, my youngest son did exactly that, GS. Carried a pew-pew on his back in Texas, another Pro 2A state, and was felt up for it. That's in your chat, by the way. Lawrence said, you could have not answered the door, and now he says, my tripod bag has been confused as a weapon, actually. They'll use any excuse to try to crap on you. LPD officer Nick Zuloff damn near drew down on me just because the RP said I had a weapon. It had already been put away by the time he got there, but his only concern was where's the yeah. So it's interesting. I watched your last video last night, LA. Matter of fact, I was first, by the way. There's a lot of you that put out videos that GS is first on, because I don't tell you I'm supporting you by not supporting you. I support you. So that said, it's interesting how you made that statement on the third iteration of going in, dealing with those boobs right in front of the court, where you basically said, I purposely put my weapon up so that there's no plausible excuse on that to say that there's some kind of concern that way. I'm not armed, even though I can be armed. And I'm always last to go here. Yeah, thanks a lot, LA. Well, you do have a real job, though. So unlike me, I'm pretty much retired. So,
and for the record, we are at just past noon.
Okay, let's go ahead and call it good. And we'll if you want to stick around, you want me to finish? Let's finish this a little bit. Okay.
I got after it, but I wasn't sure where it came from. And I didn't want to call the police.
Which room is it?
1401.
1401, okay.
1401. Well, the girl sounded scared, the one that called. She was like, it's getting out, it sounds like it's getting really out of hand.
So it's hit them before, huh? Okay. We sent out there and directed the deputy that's coming to this area?
It's not, you're gonna go to the fourth floor, and it's gonna be on the second.
Gotcha.
All right, describe that applesauce. They're rats, so I can share it. She says, "Yes, since you're reading Craig's chat, the applesauce is amazing. How come it's sometimes they're not coming over? Like I didn't see what she had written before. Saying bullet or GUN or weapon in front of a cop is like saying fire. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I always stow the weapon. If cops are called on me, it's not worth the risk. Yeah, that's what I did in that situation where I had my weapon at the low ready with my neighbor, and I had, luckily I was like live streaming it on Periscope. I had my phone in my hand. I had 44 people in the room or something like that at the time. And they're all like porch dick. They're like PD, because that's what they called me, porch dick back then. They were like, no, don't do it, man. Don't do it, man. Don't. No, don't do it. No. They literally thought I was gonna just drop that dude right where he stood. And listen, man, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes with me, man. If he would have transgressed one more step, I would have dropped his ass right where the hell he stood, and I would have slept like a damn baby. Come to find out, the cops had showed up at his house the day before, because he called, and because I was carrying my weapon on the side, holstered on my side, he said I was walking around my own property in an intimidating way to try to intimidate him. So me on my own property with a sidearm on my side, and this guy was allegedly Special Forces, retired. I think that motherfucker was stolen valor. And so he called the cops trying to get facilitate some kind of drama, some kind of record of a proceeding that was about to happen. So luckily, when the cops did come, when he called them, because he purposefully stepped foot on my property when I told him not to, and when I kept it at the lower ready, he said thank you, immediately had the phone on speed dial, called the cops, and stepped back on his property. So that's the kind of dirtbag people there are in this world. They'll push your buttons, and they're gonna play games, and some games are for keeps, folks. So you got to be careful. Some games are for keeps, and that caution goes to myself as well. That said, the cop that came, there were two cops. One was with him, and one stayed with me. The two cops that came. Actually, one of the cops was there at his house that night, and he said, yeah, that dude sounded nuts. There's something about him that was off, and I'm glad he showed up. And I had my weapon holstered and everything sitting on a hassock about 20 feet away from me. As soon as they pulled up into the driveway, I had my phone. I was still live streaming. I lifted up my hoodie, and I turned all the way around. I was in my Army PT shorts and a hoodie, and I pulled my hoodie and my T-shirt up and turned around, showed him I had no weapon on me. And I just said, is it all right if I keep recording? This is long before I knew about the 1A community. And he said, yeah, sure, that's not a problem. And then I explained it. Stolen valor, Upshur County, Virginia Sheriff candidate Chester Zickfoos, Dan Shipley smoked him in weekend before the election voting. So now you're going to have to give me the recipe. Yeah, no problem. I'll show you how I make it. As soon as we get an apple harvest. Look at Craig's like, I want to go, dude. Stop telling stories. All right, here we go.
Good.
So, she said about my applesauce, she said, I think I know a couple of the ingredients, but it's so perfectly married that I can't say for sure. But the flavor is incredible, and Mist is right. World famous, or should be. But people don't want to pay for what things are worth. It took a lot of time to make that.
Freeze over 111.
So I don't know if I sounded like I heard him like kind of unsnap his gun. Did you hear that little snap? Let me rewind it. Unless that was him like unclipping his thing or whatever to talk. Yeah.
Freeze over 111.
Did you hear that snap? It sounded like the snap of the. I'm just keeping my trigger finger here so I can just pause it.
When you see the door open, then you can pause.
Yeah, because you'll see his hands at the low ready.
Yeah,
his the weapon's at his right thigh. So that's the question, right? Having a weapon unholstered. I mean, of course, the guy wasn't probably dressed to be carrying, right? He's in his own apartment after all. That was the first safety, yeah. The guy claimed he was a former Navy SEAL. Yeah, my neighbor said he was Special Forces too, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I had that motherfucker at parade rest on the side of the road one day. I was chewing him up one down. He was like a private dude. I swear I had that dude at parade rest on the side of the road because of his freaking shenanigans and bullshit.
So
like,
this is
no
when
joke.
This is when he's like leaning in, listening.
Okay. I don't hear any yelling. Do you? I hear birds.
So he hesitates, steps to the side.
I heard a dog barking. Did you hear that? It was like a little yappy dog barked.
Yep, it is a yappy dog.
Yeah, he's standing so that there's no way you could see him.
And definitely what he's about to do right now. He steps even further to the right down this hall.
Yeah. So he steps out of the way. So like if you're looking out of your eye hole there, your peephole, there's no way you can see who the hell's on the other side of the door. I heard something. I think he was like, "Who is it?" or something like that, maybe. What'd you hear?
You'll see it in the closed captioning.
I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Let me turn it on.
Oh.
Sheriff's office, open the door. Sheriff's office, open the door.
Now, I understand the need to stay out of the fatal funnel. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, the man has a right to try to go home to his own family, right? He's out there doing his job and the duty, doing his duty, allegedly. This is a hard one.
Okay, pause.
Okay. So he says, step back. The door starts to open, right? And I'm not going to go much further than that.
Yeah. The next frame is.
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, he drops him there basically, and then whatever that's got going on there. And then this guy talks about it.
And the final third-party review done by the state attorney's office. We know you have many questions, as do we. But we are confident in our state's agencies' abilities to investigate the facts, no matter where they may lead. And we are prepared to take action that is required to best serve our residents, the military community, and our visitors.
So the guy was either a vet or he's active duty?
He's active duty.
You're shitting me. They killed a fucking soldier?
Senior airman. He wasn't pararescue, but he had some type of a special duty because what he did. But anyway.
Yeah.
Transparency and accountability have been our top priorities from day one.
I love how the cops like to say in this day and age and all this other stuff, and with all the the terrorism and all this. I mean, here's an airman that you're saying has special particular duties, which means he might be like JSOC or something like that. those dudes have seen some things, and those dudes probably have made some enemies. Therefore, I would definitely be going to the door with a weapon, especially if I don't see anybody on the other side of the door. I'm like, okay. So, yeah, it's interesting.
We will also be distributing the link.
All right, so I guess my question would be, how are they going to spin this? What's the narrative going to be? It looked to me like it was a black cop. I don't know who the airman was. Is race playing a factor in this, or because I don't know if they've ginned it up to try to start the next frickin' George Floyd race war thing going on, or
I don't think it was a black cop though.
Yeah, it was definitely a black dude.
Really?
You didn't see his hand?
Mm.
You didn't see his hand? It's clear, dude. All right, here we go. I'll show you. All right, 1 second. All right, here we go. 1 second. Looked pretty clear to me. Yeah, his hand right there to the left.
It's definitely a white dude.
What?
100%.
That's a white man's hand?
Wait, look at
there, watch. Right there.
Those are white hands. Caucasian. From the mountain of Caucasus.
That looks like a black dude's hands right there. Watch. This dude's been out in the sun. Right? Look at that. No, that's a black man's hands right there, bro. You got to claim it. That's melanin.
No.
He's gifted. He's been kissed by the sun gods. You don't see that? Nah, it could be either way. I don't really care. I'm just curious as to how they're going to spin that shit. That's the point of me saying what I'm saying. Are all the streets going to end up burning down? Because of racism, or is it going to disappear as a topic and narrative in the headlines when the optics aren't particularly agreeable to their wanting of a narrative? Dove says can't tell. Yeah. I mean, technically, Craig has been looking at the back of a black man's hand for a long time, so maybe I would tip my hat to my melaninly gifted brother here, and we'll say he's a white dude. Let's burn this motherfucker down. All right.
Mine is at. I have mine stopped at 7:32.
Is it the same video?
No, it's on mine, but I mean, we could find that out pretty easily. Like just going through that.
Well, the fact that they haven't released. Oh, here we go. That's when he's got he does look Caucasian when I'm looking at the gun in his hand. Yeah. Fucking white people, man. Am I right?
I'm like 99 point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
999% certain that he's.
All right. So which town are we going to start burning?
Let's do Whoville.
Whoville. All right. Fuck those Who's. Right in their little pussies. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Again, this has been fun. This has been real. I'm going to go ahead and put us out here. Hopefully you didn't miss any questions or really insightful, awesome comments there, guys. If you super chatted it, I wouldn't have missed it. I'm just saying, my time is very valuable. And if you really, 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 really want to show me your love, I can e-beg, right?
I can't get super chats. I don't think.
Yeah. I won't share them with you. I'm just gonna let you know off the top.
I'm gonna earn them.
There you go. All right, here we go.
The only thing that enrages me is when you hear people say, you must believe me. I have no obligation to believe anybody. You have an obligation, if you want me to believe you, to prove what you're saying. I have a right to ask simple, fair questions. How do you know that? How can I trust that? And if you don't give me those answers, then I just don't believe you. And I don't have to believe you. And if your recourse is you're a bad person for not believing me, fuck you.